Your talk this morning was wonderful and very timely for me. I'm wondering how I can help to reduce the resistance that I have to change. So, a little bit of background. We probably, like many people, change to something you feel like you have to have a lot of effort, put a lot of energy, a lot of attention to it. And
only because you're not doing Vortex first.
Right.
If you do Vortex first, it's effortless.
Right.
If you don't do Vortex first, it's really hard and turns out crummy.
Well, and I'm making a lot of progress. So my financial life has changed dramatically. My business life has changed dramatically. I'm making the improvements, and it's like the change is happening, and there's a tremendous amount of effort that goes into accomplishing that change. And so when I listen to you talk, and I realize...
What kind of effort?
Actual physical effort, get up early, work late, do whatever I think feels like in the past it takes effort to accomplish something. And so rather than... I'm trying to allow things more than make things more.
So when you're talking about change, give us just a little bit what you mean by change. In other words, are things changing for the better? And that's not hard to take, is it?
No.
So, but there's something underlying your conversation when you're talking about change.
I think
what other things have changed?
What other things have changed? I do, in the past, I used to maybe not come to a seminar here on a work day. I might not have done that. So I'll do that.
Most didn't.
Right. And yet, somehow there's a feeling that I would like to reduce that feeling of there'll be a price to pay for that, or I'll have to work extra hard to get caught up as a result of that. And that's where I'm making the changes. I'm feeling the improvement, but it isn't coming as easy as I know that it should be.
Well, one of the things that is most hindering to most people is in change. The reason we ask you if it feels to you that things are changing for the better.
And it does.
So if things are changing for the better, then you're in this positive flow. In other words, your anticipation is in a place where you're not introducing resistance, which equals struggle and effort. But because you're feeling some struggle and some effort, it lets us know that there's some awareness. In your experience, we're talking not necessarily financially, but maybe, mostly emotionally, have you been in a place that felt better to you overall than you are in right now? Was life easier? Because you're talking about effort. So, was there a time when it felt like less effort? Was there a time in your life when it felt like it was just moving along more easily?
I would have to say probably yes.
We would say certainly yes. It's all right. It's true of almost everyone. But here's the thing that's so interesting. Life is at its best now. Not just because the vortex is ripe with things that are forthcoming in manifestation, but because you've expanded into a better place. It's always better where you are, no matter how it seems to look. Because the evolution of who you are and your relationship with who you really are, it's always better than it ever seems. That's a hard thing to hear, because it's like as people move through time, often they yearn for more youthful times, or as they move into a new work environment that they haven't quite got all figured out, they yearn for a time when they had it more figured out. There's this comparison that is a pretty common thing that people do that does not serve you very well. And if we could convince you, and we can't do it with words, we will offer a lot of words here in an effort to convince you. But if we could convince you that you are at your best of times now, if you could accept that there is that there is always this new standard. There's this new norm that you are living, that you are now from this new norm reaching into something that is better. And you make no comparisons about anything that was before. You would release a great big wad of resistance, and you would feel energy begin to move, and when energy begins to move, the effort factor can come way down. Because what the effort factor is every single time, we love telling you this, whether you can hear it completely or not, the effort factor is always about bucking your own resistance. That's what every bit of the feeling of effort always is. It's about bucking resistance, which only exists because there's contradiction going on in your vibration. And there's something about, we've used the words, a lot of people have, but we've used the words making peace with what is as a way of beginning the explanation of this, that as you accept what is as what is, this is where I am. And then you diffuse it immediately by saying, it's where I am, but it's temporary because the vortex is really where I'm going. We offered the best analogy that we've ever offered recently about you get your new car, and while they're building it, you say to them, you know that windshield that you usually put out there? I want it in the floorboard. Don't even put one out there because I always look right where I am. And so I'm just going to be looking where I am and hoping for the best because, and of course, relative to what you're doing out on the highway, you know how ridiculous that is. Looking where you are is too late. It's too late. You want to be looking where you're going. But it's not, we don't mean it in the sense that what we mean is you want to look out there where you're going because that's where all the joy is. That's where all the alignment is. That's where all the energy is. And that's where the effort factor isn't.
Right. And as I hear those words, one of the things that I think about is like, I own a piece of property up north, and someday we want to build a cabin and spend some time up there. And while I look at that and that feels good, there's this underlying tension about, okay, I'm going to have to do the planning, and I'm going to have to put a lot of effort and energy into creating this. And then once we get it up there, then there'll be the time to get away, which will take away from my time at work. And there'll be this challenge. And I know when I feel that's not right, but I'm not sure how.
But you see what we are so appreciating your candid words, because what you are demonstrating here, first of all, everyone relates to it. But what you're demonstrating here is a human person who has been creating primarily through action.
Right.
Who has not yet tapped in to the knowledge and the advantage of the leverage of the energy.
Right.
And it ties in perfectly with what we were just talking about faith, because faith is alignment with energy without justification for doing it. And so the remedy is to become less specific in your resistant thoughts. And the way you become less specific in your resistant thought is by becoming more general in your resistant thought. For example, I'll figure it out as I go is a general thought. A specific thought is building a cabin is a lot of trouble. And it's going to take a lot of planning, really specific thoughts. Right. And just making sure that the zoning is right for it, and figuring out what we're going to put there, and figuring out how to get the utilities in that we really want, and figuring out the size of it, and being able to plan for our life down the road. And is it really where we want to put our time and energy? Specific. Nodding you up, because you're asking questions to which you don't have answers, because the answers, even though they're all over there in the vortex, because you haven't been there enough on this subject, those answers aren't revealing themselves to you yet. So the problem part of the equation is what's most dominant within you, and it's got you bogged down. Right. And what's really interesting about this is that every time you approach that subject, or any subject really, you put an equivalent solution over there that calls you. So the resistance that you're feeling is because you've been doing the work and the solution is calling you, but your practical mind isn't letting you go there because you're so action-oriented, you see.
Right.
So the way you become less action-oriented and more energy-oriented is by going general. I don't have to figure it out right now. And when the time is right, I'll know what to do. And I don't need to take action until I feel the inspiration to act. And the whole point of it is for a joyful experience anyway. And I want it to be a joyful experience from the beginning. And there are all kinds of things there are lots of things. Now, did you feel us go general?
Absolutely.
And did you feel the ease of it? And now we're going to go generally positive. There are a lot of things, because it's easy to go from generally negative to generally positive, but it's impossible to go from specifically negative to specifically positive. So that general thing is a nice bridge in between. So if you can get into that general place where you're no longer badgering yourself, then you can get into a place where you can make some generally positive statements. So you could say something like, I don't have to do it this red hot minute anyway. And when the time is right, I'll know it. And when things line up, it's really fun to do. And there are a lot of things that will come into place before I'm even going to think about that. And meanwhile, so you bring yourself into this more generally good feeling place. And then more specifically good feeling thoughts begin to come to you, such as there are many, many things that are important to my everyday experience that I'm not efforting over. I did not build my automobile with my bare hands. You didn't, did you?
No.
I don't even maintain it with my bare hands. You don't, do you?
I don't. I used to do both.
But you see what
Absolutely.
I don't do that.
Right.
And I have the best running machine I've ever had. You do, don't you?
Absolutely.
So now you're specifically acknowledging what you were general about before, and now the not's gone because you don't have to think about it right now. And when you're ready to think about it, there are all kinds of people who are ready to step in, who know exactly what to do in all of those places. And when I'm in the vortex, we're speaking from your point of view, and when I'm in the vortex, they will be revealed to me, one coming just at the right time, and then the next, and then the next, and then the next. So it's going to be this unfolding with me, the creative genius, and everyone else filling in and doing their harmonic parts. And the whole thing's just going to be a wonderful experience. And now you've left that cabin in a better place than it ever was before. You took it from a place where it badgered you, and you left it in a place where at least it's not yelling at you anymore. It may not be making your heart sing yet, right, and it may not be inspiring you to action, and you may not be wanting to go up there and dream about it and draw the walls in the dirt yet, but at least this brief conversation moved it to a place where it's no longer a point of resistance. So now your dreams about the cabin are not being contradicted by you. Not right now.
Right.
And when your dreams are not being contradicted and there's no resistance, that means the cooperative components can begin to be amassing, and you are now not an uncooperative component, which must mean you must be a cooperative component, which means now the thoughts and ideas will begin to occur to you. So you'll get in on this joyful creation. You see how
I've heard you say it so many times, get in the vortex, and as soon as you were speaking, it just kind of realized that that's not what I was doing.
It's just so annoying to have someone tell you to get in the vortex when you're not in the vortex, because you just want to shout, if I could be in the vortex, don't you think I'd damn well go there? Don't you think I would be in the vortex if I could be in the vortex? That's the whole point of this conversation. I want to be in the vortex, but I'm not in the vortex. And we just want you to ratchet it way back. But the tools that we give you are about be less intense. When you know that you don't be in the vortex, try not to be so vividly what you're being. That's the whole point. Don't be so vividly what you're being. And if you'll stop being so vividly what you're being by not talking to somebody about it, not adding power to it, not drawing pictures about it. In other words, don't blog about it. Don't spend time talking about what bees that you don't want to be. There are people who say, you've got to face reality. They're saying that to Jerry right now. You need to talk to us about what's going on with you. And we say, or not. You want millions of people focusing upon what is when what is isn't what you want?
Right.
We don't think so. In other words, when you don't want to think about what is, do you really want to talk to a whole lot of people about what is when you don't want to think about what is? You want to become more general about it, not more specific about it. More general. The more general you are, the less resistance there is. The more general you are, the more resistance there is. Now, sometimes people will say, but I thought you said I'm a deliberate creator. And now you're telling me to be a general creator. We say, be general when your creation is crappy. Be specific when your creation is really pleasing.